Hey everyone.
Everybody.
Hey, Carolyn.
Hey, happy Tuesday. Hope everyone's excited for the weekend. Enjoy some of this beautiful weather we're having. That very well may be gone by this weekend, but we'll see.
Yeah. I can enjoy it through the windows as I sit by the computer.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It'll be good.
I think we got a couple other folks trickling in, and then we'll kick off our demo day. We'll give everyone just another minute or two. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll get kicked off here with our capstone demo day, and then I'll hand it back over to Ryan and Kelly here. I'll go ahead and share my screen like always, just for the recording, for folks taking a look afterwards. Just for, I think everyone kind of knows the rundown by now. But 2 minutes per person, give a quick update on where you're at, your progress updates, all that good stuff you're struggling with, and some of the successes you've had. So everyone has 2 minutes, so we should hopefully get this through this in about 30 minutes or so. I will kind of be a little more aggressive for that 2 minute mark. So when that 2 minutes are up, a loud timer will play on my end. When you hear that timer, I'll pass it off to the next person. So just as a heads up. And then once we're done, everyone giving their update, go ahead and give a couple minutes for feedback, questions, thoughts, all that good stuff. Hopefully we'll have some stuff to show today. So again, encourage you all to share your screen, web pages, anything that I like to show off to the class. Questions to guide you as always. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to throw this in the Zoom chat or the Slack chat. Let me do that real quick. Just so everyone has access to this. And then the peer reviews, as always, please submit feedback to your peers. I will throw this document in the Slack channel right now. As in terms of quick updates, as always, we'll send a Slack poll after all the capstones, just asking where folks think they're at in their overall capstones. 2 weeks ago mentioned having some basic web page completed 2 weeks ago. If you don't have JavaScript incorporated right now, that's fine. But certainly start thinking about having that JavaScript incorporated into your project in some capacity. And given how I work with Ryan and Corey, Ryan and Kelly over the next 2 weeks here, start thinking about how you might be able to leverage an API in your application, if that might be applicable. So by the 31st, if you do plan to leverage an API in some capacity for some data to get pulled into your project, recommend having that by the 31st. And they'll go in alphabetical order, and I'll send the Slack poll after the presentations. I'll go ahead and ping along in the students chat in Slack this document as well, just for the peer review links. But with that, I'll go ahead and I will hand it over to Ariel to kick us off with the capstone updates. Ariel, if you want to give an update when you're able.
Yeah, so I was going to share with you, but apparently when I pulled it out of my GitHub desktop, I broke something. So I do have, I can pull up some screenshots and put them in the Slack. I finally got my JavaScript connected and redid the front end. So now there is a login and a register button, and those all connect and pull up an event with the forget password, submit, and all of that. But unfortunately, I mean, I can screen share, I have the code, but I don't have an actual screen to show. It's only showing my pop-up now. So I can submit screenshots after, however, once I figure out what I did in my repository. So that's it for now. I apologize.
No worries. Thanks, Ariel. And same goes for everyone as well. Just like always, if you want to throw anything in the Slack chat, if you're having difficulty sharing, feel free to do so. Thanks, Ariel. Next up, Brandy, if you want to go ahead and give an update on your capstone.
Today I will be sharing.
Awesome.
Right. Right now, this is, I would consider a high fidelity. I've gotten help from the mentors, and I'm excited about every little thing that's on this page right here. I've gotten help with my nav bar. I created a sticky top in my carousels, and I fixed the breakpoints for my cards. That's what we're at right now. Still very much gray and black, but I am proud of what I have right now. I'm going back and editing CSS for certain areas. Like here, I want to get rid of this search content. But yeah, work in progress.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandy. Looking good.
Thanks.
All right. Next up, Brielle, if you want to go ahead and give an update on your capstone.
Yes, so I didn't get too much work done, but I am able to share. I started on my Mac today. Oh dear, I haven't shared on this before. It's giving me 8 different options of what to share. Let me start with, I think I can share my code. To start with.
Yeah, just quick heads up, Brielle. If desktop is normally the best option, just so you don't have to keep going through different things to share. But if you want to share window by window, feel free to do so.
Okay. Except click on the locked changes. Let me just I forgot everyone else talking about having to unlock to share with Zoom. I have to quit and reopen. Can you come back to me?
Yeah, that's fine. We'll come back to Brielle.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Carolyn, you want to go ahead and give an update?
I'm so surprised. I'm usually at the end of the alphabet these days. Okay, so yesterday after we had class, because we got done kind of early and got all our homework done, and most of today I spent playing with my capstone. And I can really appreciate, when someone shows something and they say, this doesn't look like much, but I'm proud, because it's not easy. You think, oh, I can put this text here and I can put this box here, and they don't want to behave. But I'll show you where we're at, if I may. Okay. First of all, I have created the different pages. This is not the right one. Sorry. I need my capstone one. Anyway, I should have left these open. So anyway, I've created pages. I can put screenshots in Slack. Obviously the index and the style and the JS page, but then the different parts, the different components of the site, like there's going to be a couple diaries. So there'll be a main diary link, and then hover drop down or whatever kind of menu, so you can go to the next one. There's a couple journals. There's a section where you can write your own journal. So anyway, I've been working on the navigation. So far, I'm still on the top navigation bar, and the little side hamburger squishy one. And having a lot of fun, putting the different parts together like Bootstrap and everything. Let's see if I can show you this though. This might be better. Oops, where'd it go? Sorry, Zoom gets in the way. All right, so this was looking better, then it was looking worse, and it's not great, but it's actually doing better. This is the one that's supposed to collapse and be responsive, and these are the ones that are actually supposed to go across the page. And they were across the page initially, but at any rate, having fun trying to figure that out, and trying to check the links and just, make sure all the pages have the same stock information that they have in common, and then taking it from there. So I haven't done a lot with style sheets, even though I did, they're not showing up yet. But for me, I had not touched it for a couple of weeks because I've been trying to play catch up with all the JavaScript assignments. And it was like, I just did that today, and it felt really good. I'm ready to take a break and get back to the homework, but and the links, some of, they do take you places. Let's see, that's the about page, but of course it just looks like that right now, So anyway, so.
Well, thanks, Carolyn.
Okay.
Appreciate it. All right. Next up, we have Dominique. You want to go ahead and give an update for today?
Sure. I had a before and after, but I'll send the before in Slack. But hold on, let me share my screen. All right. So I was playing around with the cards. I finally got my front page the way I want it. I'm still doing right now herbs, flowers, and crystals right now. So I finally found cards that I was playing around with. I did this yesterday and today. The cards do go to the site right now. I'm just trying to do like the layouts for per each item of categories. So that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Dominique. All right. Next up, Alina, you want to go ahead and give an update?
Hi, everyone. So I actually changed my capstone idea completely. It's more of a planning website now. I will share my screen and show everyone. It's called Living Intentionally. Intentional was actually my word of 2021, so I just felt like it fit me more. I'm sharing the, can you guys see the screen?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so my links are currently broken. I just did it like 5 minutes ago while I was talking to Jason. The search page does bring you to this page, but we'll skip that. So it's going to be a planning page for like family scheduling and chore charts, home planning, like projects and stuff around the house that you want to accomplish, meal planning, stuff like that. I have been creating PDFs because I want to replace these images. These are just images that I got on Unsplash, but I want to replace these images with images of the planners that I'm creating. I'm going to be creating like PDF versions of them that will hopefully be interactive. If not, they'll just be like printables that you can write in, but I'm trying to avoid that. And this is what I got so far.
Awesome. Thanks, Lena. Looking good.
Thanks.
All right. Next up, Fubilia, want to go ahead and give an update?
Oh, okay. I will share my screen. Okay, this is what I've been working on so far. I got a good start on it between yesterday and this morning, early this morning. The thing that I'm happiest with is finally getting a nav bar that operates. I can press on the little hamburger here, and I'll have the home page, which is my front page here, an about section, and my portfolio, which will actually have, 3 subsections to it. So I'm still trying to work with that to get it a little bit smoother. Under here, I'll have another, under the image here, which is the home page, I'll have another box. So I was in Slack asking if I could actually overlap my container fluid boxes. So Max gave me the suggestion to do a negative margin, top margin for my second box. And that's basically what I have so far. I just have to add more images.
No, she just came to the door.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Fabilia.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, Jihil, you want to go ahead and give an update?
I should be up about 15 minutes.
Jahil on? I don't think Jahil is on just yet. I'm gonna come back to him if he's able to join us in a minute. So let's go over Jahil for right now. Karen, you want to go ahead and give an update?
Sure. Let me share my screen. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so far I have the wireframe that I've been working as a guide, and I have a lot of my text in here. I was able to get the cards in here, but I'm working on trying to get them to shuffle. So now I found this, so I'm gonna be working to try to see if I can create the cards with this particular program here. And you know how, see how it can incorporate into my program, if at all. And because I have to actually create the cards separately. And I have all my images for that. So that's what I'll be working on coming up, is getting everything laid out on in my HTML file, and getting my JavaScript in, or trying to get it working actually. Okay, and that's all I have today.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. All right. Next up, Kyle, you want to go ahead and give an update? Karen, real quick, you got to stop sharing your screen. Karen, heads up.
Yeah.
Thank
There
you.
we go.
Is Kyle on?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just waiting for the screen share to stop. Yeah, so it turns out that the solution to a lot of my problems with image sizes and the ways things were displaying on different screen sizes was bootstrap breakpoints, because you can actually tell it to display a certain way if this screen size is between this range, and display a different way if it's within a smaller range. So in order to make that work, you need to use Sass instead of regular CSS. So that's what I've been working on the past couple of days, is getting that installed and set up and figuring out how to use it. It's actually been a pretty good time to do that, because after the JavaScript module, a lot of the concepts are more familiar. We've done a little bit more in the terminal, and that was helpful with installing it. We did some stuff with file paths, with import export, and some of the concepts that it's going to be using with parameters and nesting things is more familiar from JavaScript as well. I have some stuff to share because I've made some updates to my website. Was able to fix the image problem so that the sizes no longer change. Nothing's jumping around on the page when you change between sizes. And was able to update this page so that when you go down to a smaller size, a lot of the text disappears, and the sizes change in terms of like the title documentary. It gets bigger when you get to a larger screen. I'm probably gonna end up putting images there instead of just text, but I was just trying to see like what was possible. So that's what I've been working on. And as far as next things, probably trying to work on some map software that I found to see what I can do for, like, if you're going through a manual tour without GPS, how I could get like different stops to show up on that and stuff like that. That's probably my next step.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks, Kyle. All right, next up, Latonia, you want to go ahead and give an update?
Yes, thank you. Can you all see my screen?
Not just yet. We'll let you know.
No? Oh, hold on one second. You should see a palm tree. Can you see a palm tree? Okay. Okay, so what I've done since last time is just work on a bunch of back-end stuff, and I also did my high def wireframe. So this is the vision that I have. These images will very likely change, but I use these to illustrate what I'm trying to do.
Latonia, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think you might be sharing the wrong screen. Right now we see like a note and then like a form.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Sorry, I don't want you to get too far ahead.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can you see it now? Palm tree?
Yes, we can see a palm tree now. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. So this is what I'm trying to do. I don't know if you can see how it's two-tone. There's like a sepia over here. And over here, this would be the video. So this is supposed to play. I guess it doesn't like it because I'm on sharing. But at any rate, that's what I'm trying to do, is to set up an image on this side that overlaps the video. So when you go to the site, you'll see the video playing kind of like over and behind the image. And the image might be a little transparent. But then you would have like your add to cart, which would pop it up into the cart, or you can buy now, which would open it up. And I'm planning to use Gumroad as the purchase app. So that's the bigger vision of what I'm trying to do. Then I put it on mobile so you can see what that will look like. So it's basically like the same thing. And I just pulled this out so you can see like the video is here. But again, it's not playing, which is weird because I set this up earlier, but that would just overlay there for that. And then I also was working on my HTML, trying to get that all situated using the grid to start building it out that way. And I met with Karen, who helped me kind of go through other things to consider. So next will be incorporating the stuff that she and I talked about. I decided to skip the admin page because I can just build into the site. I think I'll be doing like 3 sets of 6 going down. The header is going to be fixed, and then trying to do like a reveal where at any point you can click something and it'll bring up the contact, subscribe, my story that I had in the links along the bottom, but also like a reveal effect for if there's the search feature in there for you to get other images and stuff. And I'm only saying if just because we really talked about like tags and all that kind of stuff and like what that would look like. I may end up just doing more of a category theme type thing and then planning to scale over time going forward. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Thank you, Latonia. Appreciate you sharing. All right, next up we have Mel. If you want to give an update. I don't think I saw Mel in the chat. Mel, are you on with us? All right, I'll put Mel on the bottom if he's able to join us. So next up, Sarah, if you want to give an update.
Yeah, so I didn't have the time to get any JavaScript going, but I did work on a couple of pages that I'll show you. All right, so I did a contact us page, pretty simple. Nothing exciting there. And then I worked on kind of like a listing of the events that you can go through. This link here goes back to like a specific event page. And then the events calendar here, I found a open source JavaScript calendar called Full Calendar that seems pretty useful. I haven't really had the chance to play with it yet, so it's not very pretty right now, but it seems like it's got a lot of like really cool features. So I'm gonna play with that and see how that goes, but that's all I've got so far.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Looking really good.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right, next up, Shaw. You want to go ahead and give an update?
Yes, hi. Hi, everyone. I have a basic skeleton for HTML and my CSS. So let me share my screen. So it's very basic. I haven't done much of the bootstrap, and also I need to do the breakpoints, sizing of images, and also some coloring, because this is for the actual business, to see how to use the fonts, colors to be consistent, and also to make sure that it's compatible and according to the brand of the business. So yeah, this is what I have. I'll be working on this. I just worked on this last night and for an hour or so today.
Awesome. Thanks, Shaw.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, Shantina, want to go ahead and give an update?
Hi, everybody. I have had a bit of a family emergency the last couple of weeks, so I did fall a bit behind. I did make an attempt at some JavaScript, which is not quite working yet. However, I have a meeting set up tomorrow, so hopefully I can get those things worked out and should be able to present some change next week.
Perfect. Thanks, Shantina. All right, next up, Susan, you want to go ahead and give an update?
Sure. Let me share mine. I still need styling and everything, but I worked on finding images. I scrapped the main map idea. I thought it would be too complicated for what my level of knowledge is right now. And maybe I could change it, in the future or what have you. But I used that website that Kyle had shared that had like historic open source stuff. So I found a map for every region. So I made it regional for the music festival site. And then we'll find, like, I have buttons. So I have, and I did them as separate tabs because when I'm searching for information, I kind of prefer that. So I don't know stylistically if that's what people prefer or don't prefer, but I put it in. So like, if you want to see Western New York and you go back and you also want Finger Lakes and you can flip between, I thought that was easier. So I have each region page. And I think once I get my vision of like what each page is going to look like, I can just sort of, copy and paste over and have it standardized. And I still need a sidebar. I wanted a side nav bar and I found one, but I didn't like it. So I just scrapped that. So I'm going to have to start fresh. And I still need to make this link to JavaScript and whatnot. So, but that's where I'm at. So a little progress.
Awesome. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
All right. And last
Brielle.
up here, Brielle, yeah, we can circle back to you, Brielle, if you're able to share now.
Hopefully. It's not too pretty, but I'll share. And you said desktop should be the best way.
Normally, if you have one monitor, just say screen 1 and screen 2. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't have the other monitor hooked up. So is it sharing? Does it show Zoom in the background? Okay.
Yes.
So if I move the button so I can see them. So I've been playing around with colors, which have turned out very ugly. But I'm starting to get my search bar part form a little bit more together. And I've linked it to a list. I've my little alert, work in progress, but I've started to create cards also for all the different sites that I would like to include. And I've included live links to open in new pages of the sites. I'm struggling a little bit with the picture situation because I'd like to have the actual pictures of the sites, but when I looked through a lot of the free sites, they didn't have anything related to where I was. So I'm worried that I'm going to have to hunt down pictures of my own, but it's starting to come together with a couple of the different pages and stuff. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Thanks, Brielle.
And pause share, is that the correct button?
Yeah, it should say a stop share or pause share. I think stop share is probably what you want.
I don't have a stop share.
Interesting.
There's a new share and a participant stop video.
I think pause share should be fine. Try that and we'll let you know.
I already did. So that must not work.
If you click on share screen again, is it like at the top bar there? Is like a stop sharing option?
I see. It looks like I might be able to do it too. Let me.
Yeah, Ryan, if you don't mind.
Yep, there we go.
Perfect. You're all set, Brielle. Thanks, Ryan. All right, everyone. Well, awesome work, everyone. I think 2 quick things, then I'll kind of open it up for a couple minutes for any questions, feedback, thoughts, anything anyone wants to share. But one is, and I think this is something perhaps that we don't say enough, but to celebrate your successes when you have them. Certainly capstone related, at the same time, just, hey, I really understood JavaScript this week, or I really understood, what Ryan taught yesterday. So just like keeping a note of that and like an ongoing kind of journal, maybe it's helpful just to kind of look back and say, hey, I'm really getting this thing. So just one thing, celebrate the successes. Today in particular is, I think, a day, each one of these capstone demo days, celebrate that kind of stuff. I think it's really, really important, especially as I think many of you are aware, kind of imposter syndrome. It's a very real thing. But you're all on this journey, right? And you're transforming into software developers. So just the more that you can kind of celebrate those things, I think, the better. So just going to put that out as one. And then 2, I think I sent a Slack note on this 2 weeks ago. But we had connected with an employer, and as many employers as well have expressed to us this capstone project in particular they're working on is really critical. Many employers want to see a project of some kind, right? Not only a project, but one that you're passionate about, right? One that you understand kind of end to end, the front end, the back end, and the database, right? So this capstone, if you're ever kind of like this is really tough, and it's supposed to be, right? Like this queries and code is not easy. But we know whenever you kind of lose sight of that, and sometimes I know that can happen, the more you can do to kind of make this capstone real and say, hey, employer, check this out on my resume, right? That's going to go a tremendously long way in your interviews. And honestly, it's going to be the thing that differentiates you with someone else saying, hey, look at this thing I built that I love and that I'm passionate about. And you can talk about during interviews, and employers will look at your capstones. I promise you that. Just want to kind of share that as some words of whatever you want to call them. But with that, I'll open it up if anyone has any questions, thoughts, anything else. So kind of put a couple minutes on the clock here. I'll put 3 minutes on the clock if anyone else wants to share anything. And thank you, Kelly, for the note in the chat. I'm just going to reiterate that. So Kelly just said that employers still ask about our capstone, and it was built 2 years ago. So keep in mind. Any thoughts, feedback, questions folks want to discuss? Otherwise, I can hand it back over to Ryan here.
It looks like Alina had a question for Kelly in the chat. Just asking about what your capstone was, Kelly.
Sure, I'm happy to explain that, but also I saw that Ariel raised her hand, and I'm not really sure what to do with that. This is the first time I've run into it, so if Ariel has a question that she wants to ask, feel free to go for it.
Yeah, sorry about that. I actually was just curious as I've been sitting here. Is there a way in your GitHub desktop to go back to previous commits? Like, for example, I have everything done and I can see where I changed it 34 minutes ago and screwed it up. But is there a time we can go over that, or maybe office hours? Or is there not a way to go back because Google says there is not?
Yeah, there is a way. I'll defer to you, Ryan and Kelly, for how you guys want to handle that. If that's cool, Ariel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just figured I'd ask now before I got too far in. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts, feedback, questions around the capstone? Cool. Going once.
I think just Alina's question, if we could.
Yeah, sorry, I was typing in the chat about it. So because it's actually still active, so I was just going to type it in the chat and then link to it. So that way, if people want to check it out, they can.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. And Karen, if you're, I see you're on, Karen. If you want to throw your project up there too, feel free. Actually, I always forget we have this page on our website. We actually have a link to all of the alumni of Careers in Code, links to all the projects they've done, and then links to the recordings of all of their capstone projects. So I'm going to throw that in the chat right now. And feel free to take a look. And I think we actually have links directly to GitHubs and live links if we have them. I actually just found yours, Kelly, and Karen. So I'll throw it in the chat. Feel free to check that out. Hopefully it might give you some inspiration. Just throw it out there. All right, so with that, thanks everyone again for these demo days. Always really awesome to see everyone's progress. So it's really cool to see where everyone's at. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Ryan and Kelly, and I'm going to drop here. So thank you again, everyone. Have a great rest of your class.
Okay. So hi again, folks. Nice to see you all again. Max was saying at the beginning of each of the classes he taught, he did sort of an overview of like a quick summary of what he taught the class before, talked about like roughly what he was going to cover that day, and then it just asked for any questions. So I think I'm going to do that same thing, because you said that worked pretty well. So the quick summary of what we did yesterday is we talked about networking, we talked about IP addresses and network interfaces, and how to send messages from one computer to another. And then the second part of the class, we talked about protocols and why protocols are important, and how to send structured messages from one client to another. And we ended the class by sending messages to a server I wrote using a custom little protocol I wrote. And today we're going to be talking about an actual protocol, not sort of a contrived example, like a real protocol that's used in the real world called HTTP. And we're going to talk about how you'd structure a message if you're going to send out an HTTP, and we're going to send some messages using that protocol. So if anybody has any questions about anything we talked about yesterday and wants to raise them now, I'm more than willing to go through that. If not, I can get started on today. Going once, going twice. Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to mention, I created a vocab list because we threw a lot of words at you yesterday, and I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to relook up all those words. So I'm going to share it in the chat. I'm going to hope everybody can see it, but it's just a module 5 vocab list, and I will keep updating it. It also has stuff from today, so feel free to take a look at that. Make your own notes, write it whichever way you want. But I knew it was a lot of new terms, so
would you mind putting it in Slack too?
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that
as well, and maybe the classroom too. I don't know, but yeah, that'd be great, and you'll keep updating it, so that'll be good. Thank you.
Yeah, wow, Kelly, you put a lot of work into that. Nice job. Also, kind of related to that, I found a list I put together for Cohort 1 on a lot of this stuff, and I was going to try to dig it up before this class, but I ran out of time. So I'll look for it afterwards, and if I can find it, I'll post it in Slack. Okay, so I guess we will go into today's content. Let me share my screen. Okay. So today we are going to be talking about HTTP. And what is HTTP? Well, HTTP is a protocol, just like the protocol we used yesterday. Just like the protocol we used yesterday, it's built on top of TCP. So built on top of that technology we talked about for sending messages from one person to another. And the original sort of purpose of HTTP is for it to be used by web browsers. It's kind of the language web browsers speak. And I hinted at this yesterday, but HTTP uses port 80 by default. So yesterday we connected to that module 5 server using port 4000. That's just kind of an arbitrary port I picked because it's my own protocol. I get to pick that sort of stuff. But HTTP, the port they've picked is 80. So without further ado, let's kind of see HTTP in action. And I've got a neat little demo I'm going to do here to show you. So it kind of does a little bit of what we did yesterday. It's going to use that NC, that netcat tool again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new terminal window. And I'm going to run the server command here in my terminal. And this should look pretty familiar to what we did yesterday, nc-l and then a port. I have to stick sudo in front of it because I'm picking a port less than 1024. And in order to do that, you need to start netcat in a special sort of way. But in practice, it's the same sort of thing as what we did yesterday. I also have to enter my password for that to work. Okay, so I've got this running. I'm going to put this over here in the background for a second. Now, I'm in my web browser. I'm going to act as a client. I'm going to connect to the server. Just like yesterday, how we connected to our server with netcat, we did like netcat, IP address, port. I'm going to do the same thing, but the web browser is going to be doing that connection. And this is going to kind of give you a little bit of an insight into the data the web browser is sending, according to sort of the language it speaks. I want to give you an example before we go into it. So I'm going to go to localhost:80. So remember localhost from yesterday, I'm connecting to my computer. It's using that local loopback interface. I'm connecting on port 80 because it's HTTP. And just kind of spins and loads here. It doesn't really do anything. But go back over to the terminal, you see we got a bunch of data in here. This is HTTP. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. So does that make sense to everyone what I just did? Okay, I'll keep moving forward then.
I'm sorry, Ryan?
Yeah.
You entered your information in the terminal, then you went to the browser and you just put in localhost:80, and then it automatically popped up for you in the terminal? You didn't do anything else?
Yeah, so when I went to localhost:80 in the browser made a connection to the server I started with nc-l80.
Okay.
And I could have done the same thing. The same thing could have been done if I used netcat connected to that server, just like we did yesterday. I could have done that. I could have sent whatever text I wanted. But the point I'm trying to show here is the web browser, it's doing that, but it's sending data in a special format. And that special format is HTTP. And this is what the HTTP protocol looks like. I'm going to kind of dissect this and talk about what each part looks like. So this is similar to like the IST and the MAN and the FAV thing we did yesterday. There's just a lot more parts to this, and it's a little bit more complicated, but in concept, the same sort of idea. Data that's structured in a way that a machine can understand it. I need to get this terminal up here again. Come on, where did it go? Okay, I guess I lost that. It's fine. So this is what an HTTP request looks like, this sort of structure. And over time, this will become something you can just kind of parse by looking at. You don't really have to think about it too much. But we're going to walk through it step by step today. So the first part of an HTTP request is what's called the method. And you can think of the method sort of like the action that the request is taking. And typically with HTTP, there's a standard set of methods. The ones you hear the most used are get, post, put, and delete, occasionally patch. And we're going to talk about later in the module kind of when you use those methods and when certain methods are applicable. But by default, when a web browser makes a request to a web page, it requests with the method get, which kind of makes sense. Like you visit a web page and the web browser says, I would like to get this web page. The other methods are usually used when you want to update data, or you want to cause data on the server side to change. The GET request is usually used when you want to fetch data. Maybe you want to read it back or something like that. For the most part, I would say GET requests are probably the most common type of request made with HTTP. Okay, so the next part here is the path. Now, when I went to localhost:80, I didn't put anything after that. I just put localhost:80. So that path is just a slash. It's just the root path. If I put a slash after it, that would be the same thing. But if I did like localhost:80/student/1, then the path would be /student/1. So we're going to talk about URLs in a second, kind of what that means. But for now, just noticing that the part after the sort of the IP address or host name and the port, this sort of thing, this is where the path goes. And if you've used the web for a decent amount, this probably looks familiar. It's the sort of thing where you might look in the URL bar. I mean, look up here and you see something like that. You see, this is the this right here is akin to localhost, and then right here is our big long path. So the path usually refers to what exactly you want to load. So while the method might say like how you want to get it, should this be like reading the data? Do you want to update the data? Kind of the how. The path is sort of the what. So maybe if I say like get /students, it might mean I want to get all the students. I want to return like a list of students. Maybe if I did something like post students, it could mean like I want to create a student, or I want to update the students, or something like that. So that's kind of how those two concepts relate. We're going to talk about in a second query strings, and you can put sort of data in a path, but we're going to get to that in a second, so I'm not going to go too much into it now.
Hey, Ryan.
Yep.
I'm going to interrupt you again for a minute.
Go for it.
So Shah said in the chat that he got nothing after entering his password when he was trying to follow your example. So I wanted to just make sure we clarified again that like getting nothing means you're doing it correctly until after you visit the localhost :80.
Yeah.
So if you could just like walk through that one more time.
Yeah, definitely. I think yeah, there we go. Cool. So I'm going to do sudo nc-l80. I'm going to enter my password, and then I get nothing here. And that's what I'd expect. Then I'm going to go to the web browser, and I'm going to go to http://localhost80. I'm hit enter. And it's going to give me nothing here. So it's just kind of spin. That might freak you out a little bit, but that's totally expected. Come back over here to the terminal, and you see all this data. And the reason why it's spinning is because HTTP expects you to give a response back to the server, and we haven't given it a response back. So it's just kind of like it's asked this question, it's waiting for an answer, and we haven't answered it yet. So we're going to talk about that in a second, but that's why it's spinning. Does that make sense?
I just have a quick question. That does make sense. Thank you. I had the same question as Shaw because it didn't work for me, but it did that time. But I think it's because I put a space in there. So when we're doing it in a browser and you put in the port, you don't put a space after the colon?
You don't. So you just do IP address : port. Yeah, all in one thing. Just looking ahead here. I think I have. I don't. Okay, I think I'm gonna. I have a thing talking about URLs a bit later. I might talk about that today just to clarify that. So the last thing on this first line of text here is the HTTP version. Now, something we didn't talk about yesterday is the protocol that I had. It kind of was a protocol I designed, and that was just kind of the initial version of the protocol. And I didn't really build in a way for us to be able to update the protocol or make changes to it later. In practice, in the real world, this is a really big problem, where if you have a system that speaks one language, and then you decide later on, oh, I want to enhance that language or make it better, you need to make sure that everyone speaking that language understands those enhancements. If you add new vocabulary to a language and someone doesn't understand that new vocabulary, that's going to make it really hard to communicate. So HTTP solves this by including the version of the protocol and when you can make connections via a web browser. And this version, the ones really that are out there and used commonly these days are HTTP 1.1, HTTP 2, and starting to become HTTP 3. We're only going to talk about HTTP 1.1 in this class because, honestly, HTTP 1.1, the concepts in the further versions of HTTP are very similar, but HTTP 1.1 is a lot easier to work with. HTTP 2 is starting to become more of a thing. I don't think it's becoming enough of a thing, though. We need to really talk about it in this class. But because this version's in here, if my web browser makes a request to a server and it speaks both HTTP 1.1 and HTTP 2, and my request includes that this is an HTTP 1.1 request, the server can say, oh, okay, I'm going to speak HTTP 1.1 when I return back a response. If it says HTTP2, then the server knows, oh, I'm going to return data back in the HTTP2 format. So in the future, if there was like an HTTP5, someone could add HTTP5 in this location, and then the server could kind of understand the language the client is speaking in and be able to respond in kind. So that's why kind of versions and protocols are important. Okay. So HTTP headers, that's kind of the next part here. So far we've just talked about the first line of the request, of the data being sent to the server. So after this first line, there's an enter character. And this, it's encoded as like a literal return character, like you would press on the keyboard when you hit return on any sort of text document. And every line after this is what is called a header. So headers are sort of like an object in JavaScript, where there's sort of a key part and a value part. And the way this data is encoded is that the header name, you put the header name, you put a colon, then a space, and then the header value. And then you make a new line, and then you do the header name, colon, space, value, new line. You keep going and going and going, and spelling out all the headers you'd like to include in the request. Now, what's a header? Why is it important? Well, headers are one of the primary means in HTTP you can include metadata along with your request. So let's say maybe you wanted to, I don't know, you wanted to indicate that like you want to accept a special kind of data. Like maybe the server can provide data in a couple different formats. You could tell the server in a header, you could say, please send me data when you send data back to me in a special format. Or you could say like, maybe I'm going to send data to you to the server, and I want to send it in a special format. I want to tell the server I'm sending it in that format. And I think either tomorrow or the day after, we're going to be going through a bunch of different headers and talking about kind of what their uses are and what where you'd need them. But for now, just understanding that headers are sort of metadata associated with requests, and you can send as many as you want. There's a bunch of standard ones, but that doesn't really matter. You can send whatever headers you'd like in a request. That's really the important thing. One little bit of minutia, headers are typically formatted, the name of the header is formatted in what's called train case. And programmers have all these funny words for different ways you can spell out words, different ways you can kind of format them. Just for a little bit of trivia here, if I were to go text editor here, something like maybe you've run into this camel case, spelling out something kind of like this, where you every single word, the letter is uppercase except for the first letter. So this is typically the case you'd use for variables in JavaScript, for example. You might have also come across what's called Pascal case, which is the same thing as camel case, only the uppercase, the first letter is uppercase. Also, like, I'm just throwing this out there just I think you guys might find this interesting. This isn't really something you need to memorize. Like, just the important thing is that there's a lot of different kinds of cases. Snake case is one, and they call it snake case because like this kind of looks like a snake on the ground. And then the last one, the one that headers are in, is what's called train case. And the reason they call this train case is because this kind of looks like a bunch of train cars with little couplers in between them. So anyway. Headers are in train case. And we're going to talk about these later. And after headers, there is one more section. And the way this one more section is delimited is there's two new lines in a row. So before we had a single new line after every header row. And this last section, there's two new lines. And this last section is the body. And the body is kind of the main data sent along in an HTTP request. So it's sort of arbitrary data. In the case of you folks, probably for this for careers in code, it's going to be mostly text, and it's used kind of to provide the primary data that the request operates on. So let's say maybe you were making a request to create a student with maybe like going back to methods like posting to /students. One thing you might do is to tell the server the data you'd like to include in this new student when you create it. You might include some data in the body. saying this new student has the name of like Ryan, and maybe has I don't know, other sort of metadata associated with it. Maybe like you have include like favorite color, and favorite color maybe is green for Ryan. And then the server now this is the data the server is now able to take and use to create that new student. So the difference kind of between headers and the body is a thing that often comes up for people who are just getting into this for the first time. And headers are for metadata. So headers are more for not the primary data, but like data you'd like to include to the server to kind of tell it additional information required to do its job. But the body itself is the primary data the request is the primary data needed in order to perform the request. The boundary is a little bit fuzzy, and it often ends up kind of being up to programmer distinction where things go. But it's, yeah, I mean, I can't really necessarily say like, there's certain kinds of information that typically go in headers, and we're going to talk about that later in the class. I guess I'll leave it there. So that's pretty much a whole HTTP request. So just as a review, there's really 5 parts. There's the method, there's the path, there's the HTTP version, that's all in the first line. There's an arbitrary number of headers, and then there's a body. And the body's optional. Forgot to mention that. But the body's optional, and typically when you make GET requests, you don't include the body. I say typically because sometimes people do, and it's usually bad form, but typically you don't. So those are the 5 parts. Just threw a bunch of information at you folks, so I'm guessing you probably have some questions. So I'll give a chance for those to be asked here.
Can you give us an example of something that happens if you include the body text in when you're using GET?
What would happen? So I mean, it would. Do you mean like an example of like a request with body text in it?
Well, you said it's typically not included, but sometimes people do, and it doesn't have good results. I'm just curious what that means, so I can just.
Okay. Yeah. So typically, when you ask a server for information, like with GET, you're saying like, please give me information about a thing. Typically, that's an operation that doesn't require you to provide data. Like you're reading data, you're not telling the server like what data to write somewhere. So I mean, imagine like there's not really a payload associated with that action. So that's why typically people don't include bodies with GET requests. I'll be honest with you, I've actually only ever seen one system do it. And it's a sort of thing where it surprised me when I saw it. And that's part of the reason why people don't do it, because it's kind of surprising. It's not something people expect. In fact, web browsers don't even allow you to do it. So if you try to, we're going to talk about soon here, or not today, but in a class soon, we're going to talk about how you can send HTTP requests in the browser, like how you can programmatically in JavaScript send them. And you're going to notice if you try to put to specify a body when you do that, it's just not going to let you. So in general, this sort of rule of like bodies aren't in GET requests is something that's like a good rule of thumb, and most systems won't even let you do it. But very occasionally you'll run across a system that does it, and it'll make you scratch your head a little bit. Any other questions? Okay. I'm going to keep moving here then. So we've talked about one half of HTTP. We've talked about the request. And the request is what we saw in the terminal when the web browser connected to Netcat. But there's another part of the request, and I hinted at it before, or another part of the HTTP protocol that I hinted at before called the response. And typically the way HTTP works is a client, like a web browser, sends a server a request, and the request is formatted as we just went through. And then the server, in response to that request, does some math or does some calculations or figures out what should be sent back to the server and returns back to the server a response. And that response is similar to a request. It has some similar parts, but it's formatted slightly differently. So here's oh, I have an example request. I forgot about that. So here's kind of what an example request with a body would look like. So notice here how we've got our first line, we've got our method, our path, our version, a new line, some headers, 2 new lines. So the new line that goes down to there, and then the new line that goes down to there. So the fact there's 1 between these and 2 between here. The 2 here is very important. And then some arbitrary body contents. Okay, responses. So here's what an HTTP response looks like. And you're going to notice that it looks pretty similar. There's a lot of similar parts. For example, this probably looks pretty familiar. HTTP version. These probably look pretty familiar. Headers. This probably looks pretty familiar. A response body or a body. And your intuition would be right there. What is kind of nice about HTTP is that the response and the request have some similar parts. But there is one kind of additional piece we haven't talked about here, which is the status code. The status code is what the HTTP server returns in the response to say how successful was the request. How was the request processed? There's a lot of standard ones, and probably if you've used the web for any amount of time, you've encountered these and maybe not really known what they were, but maybe things like 404 not found sounds familiar, or something like 500 server error. But over time, you'll end up memorizing a good portion of these. The kind of the rule of thumb is that HTTP status codes are 3-digit numbers. The first digit indicates the kind of response. And what I mean by that is if the response code starts with a 2, in general, it went okay. If the response code starts with a 4, it means there was an error and it was the client's fault. So something like HTTP 404 not found. 404 not found means you have made a request to a path and that path didn't exist. And kind of as the requester, you're at fault there. You should have known that path didn't exist. So the way you'd fix that problem is you'd request a path that does exist. So in general, a status code that starts with a 4 is a status code that, as a client, you can kind of fix. It's usually something you've done wrong. Status code that starts with a 5, that's a little bit more of a deeper issue. That means there's an error and it's something that's going on with the server. You get something like a 500 server error. That's kind of the most generic 500 response code. It means the server is having a bad day right now. You should try again later when the server is not having a bad day anymore. And there are, in all these categories, there are lots of different status codes. So there's 200 OK is kind of the most generic, like, yeah, this worked. A couple other 200 status codes are like 201 created or 204 no content. Those are some other ones you'll run into. Don't need to memorize them right now, although probably you'll see them so often you will memorize them. A couple examples of 400 status codes. Just 400 on its own is what's called bad request. That's kind of just generic, you did something wrong, and usually the response body contains some information about what you did wrong. 404 not found, 401 unauthorized, 403 permission denied, 429 bad method, I think, or bad, something like that. Yeah, there's all these sorts of 400s. It's a couple examples of 500 class requests or 500 class status codes. 500 server error, the generic one. 504 gateway timeout is one. There's I know I'm kind of just shouting stuff out here, but the point being, there's a lot of these status codes, and they all kind of mean slightly different things. And if you look up online any of those status codes, you will run into many, many articles that explain exactly what it means and exactly the sort of problem you're running into and what you need to try to fix that problem. So being able to parse status codes is going to be something that you're probably going to get pretty good at, and it's something that's going to help you out a lot. Oh yeah, I put a nice list of them here. How about that? Okay. So I'm not really going to go through the rest of the parts here because they're pretty much exactly the same as the HTTP request. So the HTTP version is just the version of the protocol that the response is sending back. So if you ask for data at HTTP 1.1, it's going to send back data with HTTP 1.1. And the headers, exact same thing, metadata sort of associated with the response. Like one example is maybe the server might want to send data around like the time it returned a response. Maybe you, that's often a helpful thing to know. Another thing is sometimes the server will send information about like the software it's running behind the scenes. So for example, with the servers you're going to write later in Careers in Code, it actually sends back a response header, a server header that's Express, because you're going to write servers in this framework called Express. And then the body, which is just the data that the server is returning back. And if this is a request being made in a web browser for something like HTML, this is where the HTML that makes up the web page would be shown. So if you make a request, let's say google.com, google.com is going to give you back HTTP 1.1, 200 OK. It's going to give you back a bunch of headers, and then going to give you back the HTML that makes up google.com. So that's kind of the way an HTTP response is structured. Okay, so that is most of the content for today. We're going to be spending pretty much the whole rest of the day making HTTP requests. And I'm going to tell you right now, and Kelly can attest to this, that you're going to make some mistakes here. Like this is it's a protocol. It's very important to get all the characters correct, get all the spacing correct. That's why I have so many examples in here. So you can analyze these examples, make sure you're following them to the letter, to the number. It's computers are very picky. And one last thing I'm going to say before we get into this. We're going to be making these requests manually with Netcat, just like we did yesterday. Come tomorrow, this is not really something you're ever going to do again. Like making requests by hand I'm doing purely educationally so you can understand what's involved, but you're going to be using much higher level tools very soon where you're just going to be like, make a request to this path with these headers and this body, click a button, go, and it'll do it for you. So know that while this is important as like an educational tool to understand, this is not actually how developers do it in the real world. So before I get into this,
Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so before you get into it, two things. First thing, can we get some yeses and nos in the chat if you tried the HTTP response? If you tried it out in the terminal and going to localhost 80, could you just put like yes or no in the chat if you tried it and if it worked for you? Cool, thank you. I'm seeing responses already, great. Just wanted to check in kind of about how that was going. So awesome. Second thing, before we start getting into this, Ryan, do you want to take like a 10-minute break?
Yeah. Thank you for being the reminder of that always. Definitely.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
So how about maybe like we can get back at 6:45? Does that work for everyone?
See, what time is it now? Do you want to make it like 6:50? And then
Sure.
That's like a solid 10-minute break.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. All right, great. Thanks.
For Kelly or Ryan, I have a question about doing that exercise.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had the server on the right, the client on the left, and went to the server first. We're kind of doing the opposite.
Yeah, we're kind of doing the opposite. So
okay.
we start the server, and then we start the client by using the web browser instead of using Netcat. And then in the client, that's what sends the first message. And what you're seeing in in Netcat in the terminal is the content of that first message that's sent by the browser.
Okay. So I do have the server terminal up and the password and everything. So I go to a browser, and what is the URL I'm trying to get?
Go to localhost:80.
On the client?
In a web browser.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. I don't put anything in front of it, just localhost:80.
Yep, just localhost:80.
The good old days of FTPing in the browser. And it gave me 3,000. I wonder where that goes. All right, localhost:80. The site can't be reached. Okay, HTTP. They put that in there. Localhost. Oh, it keeps giving me 3,000. Excuse me. Try again. And there's no dashes or anything, right? It's just localhost.
Yep, just localhost:80. And when you hit enter, it's going to be spinning, and it's going to look like it's loading data, but it's just the reason why it's looking like that is because it sent the request, but it hasn't received the response yet.
Yeah, it seems to want to do 3,000. And it's 80, not 80, right?
It's 80. Yeah. If 3,000 is all you can get to work, you can update the port in that netcat-l command to be 3,000 and will work too.
All right. So I'll just do 3,000 then, because it's fighting with me. That's all right.
Yep. Yeah. So if you're going to do that, you need to update the nc-l to be nc-l 3000.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. But I want to know why this isn't doing this. Nope. And it's not train case, right?
No. Can you share your screen?
Yeah. All right, so I typed in localhost:80, and this is what it put up there, and site can't be reached, and it keeps doing that.
Can you go back to your terminal?
Yep. Just got to move some of this Zoom stuff out of the way.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, like you said, it takes, so it did do something.
Did do something, but if you want to see it happen again, if you hit your up arrow and then replace the 80 with 3,000.
Yeah, up return, right? Or up enter?
Yeah, just replace that. Oh, nope, not that.
It doesn't remember what I'm doing. Okay, hold on. All right, we'll try again. So you want me to do sudo nc -l 80?
Do a nc-l 3000.
All right, with the sudo, right?
Doesn't matter either way, because if the port's greater than 1024, it's not required, but it won't hurt either.
So you want me to do 3,000?
Not -1-l.
Oh, I hit a 1. Sorry. It's part of a password. So you want me to do 3,000?
Yep, 3,000. And then hit
Yeah.
enter. Now go back in your web browser and refresh the page.
All right. I gotta find my web browser because all this crap's in the way. Zoom takes over the world. All right.
So
and it pops back up there where I can't see. Huh?
Just refresh your page here. Just hit enter.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Yep. You got it right.
It said the site can't be reached.
No. So go back over to your terminal. What happened there is you hit enter, you refreshed it, it was loading, and then you hit the X and you stopped it loading, and then you hit refresh again. But once you hit refresh, nc-l had terminated.
Yes.
And then it couldn't find the server because the server wasn't running anymore.
Yeah. So when you go to the web browser, it doesn't look like anything happened.
It doesn't look like anything happened because it only sent the request. It hasn't received the response back yet.
So it said the site, okay. All right,
If
so
you
it won't tell you the site is found, and then you go back and you just be patient and it should be there.
Yep. Now, just as a thought experiment, if you were to type in this nc-l, if you were to type in this terminal, the text that makes up an HTTP response, then the server would show the response. So if you did something like HTTP 1.1 200 OK, some headers, enter, and then like hello world, then the web
Want me to
browser would
do
show
it?
hello world.
HTTP, is it colon 1.1 or slash, right?
You don't have the server running anymore, so it's not going to work.
It doesn't like me. Okay.
We're gonna do this momentarily. And I think once we do it in a more controlled environment, it's gonna make a bit more sense.
Oh, so I'm out of control, am I? Okay, Ryan, thank you.
No problem. Ariel, you have a question about a password issue?
Yeah, when we just did that with the terminal, you put in sudo and then you get through that and it'll give you password. I keep getting NC invalid option with a million choices. That's not correct, right?
That is not correct.
Okay, because I then tried a different password thinking it was the difference between the school password and like my password, and it will tell me, sorry, try again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps giving me NC invalid option with a lot of angry things.
Yeah, those it is a bit overwhelming. Would you be able to paste the command you typed into Slack?
Yeah, I'm using Windows and Chrome, so I'll send it over that way. And I'm still here. My camera's just off because I'm coughing and I don't want anybody to have to see that. I'll send it over. Thank you.
Most likely, you just have a slight little syntax error in the command. And if we fix that, it'll work fine.
Sorry, did you want that in the students channel or the student pasted code channel?
Doesn't matter, either works. Kyle, if you're running into that too, feel free to post yours as well.
So Ryan, I just thought I'd do it again with port 80. And I did my password and I hit return and I sat and looked at the terminal and it just sat there. I won't see it do anything. Now I go to the browser, right?
Yep.
I was just being impatient, so I want to be sure I wasn't doing that. Okay.
Yeah, until you do anything in the browser, it's as if the server is running, it just hasn't received any connections yet. Ariel, the problem is you did -1, not -L.
I did that too. Oh.
Thank you for letting me know that now before we got too far in.
What you want is that. And the difference is -1 versus -L.
Right, so I have it. Get HTTP 1.1, host local host, connection, keep alive. This looks good. I just got a screenshot to celebrate. Now I'll mute.
Okay, folks, I think I'm ready to get started again. So the rest of the class, we've got a set of exercises similar to what we did yesterday in a document. I will say I forgot to post them on Google Classroom, and I will do that momentarily here. I should have done it during the break. But I'm going to post them in Slack for now. And then take a look at them in Google Classroom later. So if you can open up that document on or that GitHub page on your end. And this is what it should look like. So I've got 4 exercises here, and each one requires making a request to our favorite module5.ml server. Now, one thing I want to point out, today the port is different. Now, this should be port 80, and I did have it at port 80 10 minutes ago, but I just ran through a few of the exercises and I realized that I did something that I set something up not thinking, and it's going to make it a little bit more confusing if we do it on port 80. So we're going to do it on port 5000. When we talk about headers in a few days, going into all the different headers, we're going to talk about the reason why this is the case, and I'll bring up why I had to do this later on. But anyway, it's going to be port 5000. It's going to be module5.ml, and you're going to connect to it just like you did yesterday, where you connected to module5.ml only on port 4000. Just going to do nc module5.ml 5000. Now, you're going to need to make these requests to the server, and I'm going to go through the first one together. This first one's kind of the easiest one. These next ones are a little bit more complicated. They require setting some custom headers and some bodies, and it's going to be a bit finicky, and you're going to have it's going to require some trial and error. I want to set everyone's expectations. Kelly can probably attest to this. It was a lot of difficult, number of iterations were required. So for this first one, I am going to get my terminal open here. Oops, wrong one. This one. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So first of all, you need to go to module5.ml port 5000. Now, you make a request to this endpoint to return a list of fruit. So just to review the parts of an HTTP request, there are 5 pieces. There's the method, there's the path, there's the HTTP version, there's headers, and there's body. So we got a lot of these here. We got method, we got path, we got headers. Remember, get by default doesn't have a body. In general, you don't include bodies when you make get requests, so we know there's going to be no body involved. And the HTTP version, in this class, we're going to use HTTP 1.1. It's going to be, that's pretty much the only version you're going to run into at the level you folks are at now. So that gives us our 5 pieces of information. So I'm going to type those in. So I'm going to go get, so that's our method, fruit, that's the request, the path of the request. Then the HTTP version, HTTP 1.1, hit enter. So that's our first line. Our first line's got all that important metadata in it. Now I have no headers, so I don't have anything to put here, so I'm just going to hit enter again. And hey, look at that. We got a response back from the server. So HTTP 1.1, 200 OK. So 200 OK means things went well. Got a bunch of stuff here. Yeah, see what I was talking about? That you can tell this was written in Express, that framework we're going to use later on. And you can see the body of the response is apples, oranges, bananas. And I misspelled bananas. Wow, what a dope. You know, bananas is one of those words I've always had trouble with. I never can remember how, like, I always think there's more N's in it than there are. So if you see me misspell it another time, I'm sorry in advance. Yeah, so that's the first exercise. So just as a start, try to replicate that on your end. And then if you feel up to it, go on to the further exercises. And these ones are going to be a bit more tricky. And I suspect we're probably going to have to do at least one more of these together to walk through headers and body and all the sort of intricacies there. But At least give this first one a try on your own and see if you can get that to work. And reach out to Kelly Rye with any questions if you have them.
So Ryan, just a quick question. This is Latonia. So now that we've done the first one, it's already set up and we can just start with the method and work our way down. We don't have to redo everything, right?
What do you mean by redo everything?
Like we don't have to keep saying NC module 5.ml 5000 and then how we didn't get, we can just start from post, like we can follow down, go down that way.
I would say hit Control C, exit out of it, and go run NC again. The reason why I'm going to say that is you're right that if you have a socket open, you can make multiple requests in that same TCP socket. The reason why I'm going to say that you should hit Control C each time is because there's a possibility. If you see here, it gave me my shell back. It didn't keep that open. And if you're going slow and you're typing each thing out step by step, you might realize the server might, the socket might time out and get you back to your shell, and you're going to have to do it again. So just to make sure you don't have any mistakes, just do it fresh each time.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
I had a quick question. So I did the NC module 5 .ml 5000 and I put in the get through http/1.1 and it enters and then I don't get anything back. Is there something else that I'm missing?
Ryan, you're muted.
I'm muted. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was muted for that whole thing, wasn't I?
Yeah, everyone just missed that.
Oh, okay.
I do that all the time. I'm talking away, nobody.
So the I was muted for the whole question Brielle asked, right? I just want to make sure I'm not saying something I already said.
Yeah, you were muted for that entire answer.
Okay.
Like the last thing we heard was Brielle ask her question, and then it looked like you were talking.
Wow.
And, turns out you were muted. Sorry.
Okay. So the most likely what was happening there is when you type that first line and hit enter, you've got to hit enter one more time. And the reason why you have to hit enter twice is because you don't have any headers. And I should have clarified this before. If you don't have any headers, you just leave that header section blank.
That's why.
Yeah.
Got it. There's always a reason.
And if you do one new line, what the server thinks, or yeah, what the server thinks is that you're about to type in a header. You have to do two new lines to tell it, oh, actually, no, I'm done typing the headers. I'm ready to receive a response. So that's a really important part of this example. I think for all the rest of them, there are headers, so it's not really going to be a big deal. But in the case of the headers, you still need to put the two new lines at the end of all the headers, but the new lines separate each header. That make sense? And Brielle, with that extra context, did that make it work for you?
No.
Okay. Can you share your screen?
I work on, I do Zoom on my tablet, but I can,
Oh,
I think I
okay.
can turn around my, my screen to show the, that looks terrible.
Yeah, hit enter one more time.
Just, one more time after, not before.
Yeah, one more time after.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Hello, Ryan. It's Latonia. When we put in the headers, are we using a train case? So you wrote headers and then you have header name. So are we using train case for that and then a colon?
Yep. And you'll
Okay.
see I wrote it in train case in the document. I should have at least.
It looks like two separate words to me, but I'm just making sure I'm doing it the right way. Headers and then it's content length, right?
Yep. You're on example 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be content dash length.
Oh, I'm reading it wrong. Okay, so that's that. And then when you have more than one header, do you just keep going on the same line or do you hit enter after each one?
Hit enter after each one. So it's
okay.
Header name, colon, space, value, enter. Header name, colon, space, value, enter.
Okay, thank
and
you.
Then once you're done with all of them, you need to do 2 new lines to tell it, I'm done with all the headers.
Hey, Ryan, this is Shao.
Hello.
Hello. I entered after NC model.ml 5000 and also after get. But after a while, I get an error message. It says bash get command not found.
Would you be able to share your screen?
Yeah, sure. Let me just do this.
Yeah. So what you did is you started typing a command.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Netcat for some reason kicked you out back to the shell again. You see how after you, when you typed get the second time, you typed it where it was in the shell prompt, like this little $ before it.
So do you want me to exit and try it again?
Yeah, do nc module 5.ml one more time. And then yep.
Enter.
Yep, and then enter. And now put it right there.
What was that? It's get.
Get. Nope, get /fruit. So you got it's method, path, HTTP version. Or get space /fruit. Sorry, should have clarified that. And then enter, and then enter one more time.
Enter one more time?
Yep, enter one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. Give it one more try. Hit enter one more time. That should work.
Reset. Yeah, last night I had the same issue. I reset my VS Code settings. I even deleted this profile of security. I look at those things, like give full access to this to my disk. But again.
Would you be able to try it in a separate terminal outside of VS Code?
The regular terminal?
Yeah, that I don't know why it would make a difference, but maybe it will. I'm distrustful of VS Code's terminal, but that could just be could be for no reason.
Sure.
While you're working on that, Carolyn, how do you input the headers? Take a look at the presentation. I have a couple examples in there. The important thing is after you hit enter on the first line with the method and the path and the version, it goes header name, :space, header value, enter. Header name, :space, header value, enter. And then once you've entered all your headers, you need to do 2 new lines to tell it, okay, I'm done entering all the headers. Please give me back a response. Does that make sense?
So I get nothing. The V's says an error, this one. The error, it's waiting. The main terminal.
Can you share your regular terminal?
This is, yeah, this, oh. All right, let me stop share and redo it. The whole window. This is the regular terminal.
Huh. Okay. Just out of curiosity, can you hit Control C? And can you type CURL space module5.ml :5000 and hit enter.
Enter?
Colon 5000 and then hit enter. Not dash, colon. I just want to see if this works. And no space between the colon and the 5000. And then hit enter. Okay, the fact that's not working makes me think there's something wrong with your computer, or some sort of maybe like your internet's slow or something like that. Hit Control C, go to module5.ml in the browser. What does that do? Yeah, okay. Now go to module5.ml :5000 in the browser.
Is it module 5?
Module5.ml :5000. Yeah, something weird is going on with your computer, I think. I'm not exactly sure what it is off the top of my head. Let me get back to you after some folks are a bit further along, and I'll see if I can give you some more suggestions. Is that okay?
All right. Yep. Sounds good. Thanks.
Yep.
So I just wanted to do another quick check-in in the chat. Can people type in a yes or no if they were able to do the get/roots? If you're able to do that successfully, can you just give me like a yes or no? Thanks. Question for you, Ryan. Are these all going to be HTTP/1.1?
They will. I'm going to say for this class in general, everything's going to be HTTP 1.1.
Hey, Ryan.
Hello.
Hi. First exercise went great.
That one's a bit more challenging, isn't it?
Well, I wasn't sure what to do when you were saying something and I was muted and I couldn't find my unmute because of all the windows that were open. So anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So I'm still at the point where I typed in module5.ml space 5000 in the terminal. And now I'm getting ZSH command not found module5.ml.
Ah, you need to put NC before it.
Of course. Duh. Now, and the other thing you were saying is when you get to the header and so forth, you have to hit enter after you do the path and all that. Then you type in one line of the header at a time and you hit enter after each one.
Yep.
So you basically enter it just the way you see it.
Yep.
Okay.
So name, colon, space, value, enter. Name, colon, space, value, enter. And there's a bunch of examples in the slides that show that kind of spelled out.
Yeah, and I'll be looking through those. So rinse and repeat, basically.
Yeah. You'll notice, like, as people are going through this, you'll notice how kind of detail-oriented and how good machines probably are at this and how bad humans probably are at this. And that's why we're never going to do this again. Like, this is purely an educational exercise.
Oh, speaking of educational exercises, are you going to post this as an assignment in Google Classroom, or?
Yeah, I forgot. I'm going to do it.
Right, cool.
I might have to wait until after class though.
Okay.
Yes, very very good question, folks. What does 400 bad requests mean? Connection close. Give me 1 second. I've got to reproduce this on my end because I think I might have said something slightly incorrectly. I just want to make sure that I'm not giving you bad information here. So give me one moment. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So here's I think I've figured out what your issue is when you see that 400 error. And the problem is what you're doing is and this might have been because I misspoke, but you're after you have your final header, you're putting a single new line, and then you're putting your body contents. You need to put 2 new lines there. So as an example, I'm going to, just because I think enough people are having this, it would be helpful to see a real example. I'm going to post what the output of this would look like in Slack.
Also, on the second exercise, I got as far as the header value 44, and it was very, oh, actually, it wasn't happy. Oh, I assumed it was. Way back, I got command not found.
One other thing I'm going to point out, if you type really, really slow, there is a possibility the server will kick you out after some amount of time. This happened last year or last time with Cohort 1. I'm pretty sure I upped that timeout, so it shouldn't be a problem anymore. But if you go really, really slowly, you might run into that.
Yeah, I usually don't, but I'm also mindful to make sure that my little paralyzed pinky here doesn't cause typos. Yeah, I'll try again. It's all you can do.
Yep.
I will not give up. I will not give up. Okay. I will mute.
Alina, seems like you're still having an issue. Do you want to share your screen?
No, I'm not having an issue. I'm just typing slowly. And yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, Susan had a question in the chat about how to get a new line without hitting return. She says every time I hit enter, it resets.
A new line without Susan.
Like I can't type everything out the way you have it written, because if I hit enter, it doesn't give me a new line. It just sends what I've written. Do you know what I'm saying?
I would guess probably that's because you're in your shell right now. You need to type nc module 5.ml 5000 and get into that mode.
Yeah, I'm in that.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
Share your screen then. Maybe I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Like, see how it's all one line?
Yeah.
Is that not right?
No, that's not right. You need to hit enter after each of those parts.
But when I hit enter after, see what happens when I hit enter after HTTP 1.1, I get a bad request. Did I leave something out?
No, that looks right. Very interesting. Can you give it one more try for me live, just so I can see it happen?
And should I write the whole thing?
Nope, just hit backspace and then hit enter. Get rid of that space at the end of the line.
Hit enter here?
Yep, hit enter there.
Oh, maybe that's what's happening. Maybe I've been putting a space.
Ah, yeah, that could be.
Okay, now I write out content length and keep.
Yep, keep going from there.
Okay. And now hit return?
Nope, need to put a space after the colon. So it goes name, colon, space, value. Yep.
Oh, I was, after each of those parts, I was hitting return. I just keep typing on one thing.
Susan, before you hit enter there, you need to hit backspace and all that. You need to put 2 new lines there. So remember how after the headers, you've got to put 2 new lines to tell it, okay, now it's the body.
So another return will do so?
Yep. One more there. Now you can type the, you put another one. Let's see if it works. It might not though. So,
it's very specific, huh?
Very specific. This is a very detail-oriented operation. And this is why this is educational. This is not really how people do it. But I want to give you,
It didn't like the extra line?
It didn't like that extra line. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But now, I think now you're on the right path.
Yeah, thanks. I'll stop my share. I didn't realize it was so, I don't know what the word is, finicky.
Finicky, definitely. But later in the week, we'll be doing this all programmatically, which is going to be a lot easier. Ariel, it seems like you're having a similar problem.
Yeah, but I think I'm putting a space after when I'm doing it. So I'm rerunning it like she just did to see if I have the same issue still.
Cool. Okay. Latonia, when do we input the password? What do you mean? Oh, you're talking about for exercise 3?
Yes, because I keep getting down to the password and then I hit twice because I think I'm telling it that I'm done, but it's like you didn't put in the password. And when I only hit it once, it doesn't do anything.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So I probably should have finished this so you wouldn't have to wait for me, but lockbox, right? And then HTTP, right? Authorization.
Oh, no.
No,
Sorry.
no.
Put a super secret there.
Oh.
Yeah, so maybe I should have made that more clear in the example.
Super secret. And then do I do a space and put?
No, just hit enter one more time. You don't have a body, so.
Oh, it timed out. Did it time out on me again?
Oh, nope, you're good. You're good.
Oh, you have unlocked your box. Yay. Okay. So what is this? What is this header value? Do we do
Yeah,
nothing with that?
maybe this is confusing, but the idea is that you can put the password there, or you can put something else.
Oh.
The password. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm
So
sorry.
Run that one more time, but don't put super secret. Put something else and see what happens.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Did I unmute? No. Or mute.
Kyle, I saw you posted a question in the chat a little bit ago. Did anyone get to that, or do we?
I don't even remember what it is now.
Okay.
What was it?
Oh, it wasn't Carolyn. It was Kyle.
Oh, Kyle. Okay.
Kyle asked a question in the chat like a few minutes ago.
I'm trying it again, so
okay.
I don't know.
That's cool. I just wanted to make sure we got to it. That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
So when folks get a chance, will they be able to put a yes or a no in the chat and indicate how successful they've been with exercise 2?
Yeah, I got the same answer when I tried the fourth one again. It worked. It just, where would the most common words show up?
Probably in the response body.
I don't know. Maybe I'll paste what I got in Slack.
Yeah, I can take a look. Also, Shaw, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm trying to think what to do next year, and I'm still trying to come up with a good answer for you. So Well, this is a little bit awkward. I think that fourth one endpoint might have a bug in it, and that's why it's not returning a value. I rewrote that one between module 1 and between cohort 1 and cohort 2. I must not have tested it all that well. So if you get back a 200, call that a success. Yeah, what that should return though is just a body with a single word in it.
Ryan, may I share screen?
Sure, go for it.
Thank you. Exercise 2.
Okay.
Initially, I guess I did the post and the path, and then I hit return, and I did header name, and I think I hit return and that whatever. So I thought, oh, maybe it's all supposed to go on one line, and so I started to get kind of confused, but it's timing me out.
So there's a few things I want to point out. First of all, you don't have the HTTP version, so you need an HTTP 1.1 in there. The second thing I want to point out is you've spelled out header name, header value. Those actually, you want to do like the header name, colon space, the header value. So in this case, not actually spelling up literal header name, header value, like content length, colon space, 44.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
so you'd have post, text processing, and then the HTTP space, and this is B name instead of
enter content length, colon space, 44. Take a look at some of the examples in the slides.
Yeah, are they later? Because when I look, all I see is like the stuff you were explaining. I don't see.
Let me see if I can find one here.
I can just figure it out. I'll be fine. I kind of don't get it.
Yeah, take a look at slide number 47. It's got the title Example Post Request with Body.
Okay. Slide number what again?
47. Oh, you're going ahead, are you?
This is one things go away. Okay. Example, okay.
So you see how that format differs from what you typed?
Oh, that's okay. That's not just what the machine spit out, it's how you need to enter it.
Exactly.
All right. So after the method and the path and the version, you would hit return?
Type the method, the path, the version, you hit enter. Yeah, single return, single new.
Just return, and you'll get a cursor. And then the content type and content length are header, but they're on their own. So you would just do colon space text plain, and you'd hit return and then colon space 44 and return?
No, so for the header, you want to put the name of the header, colon, space, and then the value of the header.
But see,
So
that's where I'm confused because you said I had it in the line and I shouldn't, so I'm a little lost.
can you bring your terminal back up the way what you had entered? Just so we
Yeah.
can take a look at it.
Sure.
If possible, if you can put it side by side with the slide so we can compare it
Yeah,
directly next to it.
I can work that magic. I can work. Okay, hold on. If you asked me to do this on my Toshiba now, I don't think I could because I've gotten so used to all the magic of the Mac. Go away, Zoom. Hold on. Zoom isn't playing nice. All right, sorry. There we go. All right, now, sorry about that. Just trying to get everybody to be happy here.
Hit that back. Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Okay.
Go away. Not you.
Okay.
Okay.
So I want to compare line by line what you typed and what we see in this slide. So pretty close to what you need to do here.
Okay.
So
Get him happy here. Go ahead.
No, go back to the slide 47.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it so we can do side by side. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, oh, slide 47.
It's not me. It's a gremlin. Okay.
So notice
Ask
how the
Gus
first,
about that.
first line starts with post. You got that. Second part is the path. You got that. And then you see right after the path that says HTTP/1.1. You take a look at what you typed. There you didn't put HTTP 1.1 there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing I wanted to take note of. Notice then after HTTP 1.1, there's a single new line. And then the next line after that, the headers start. So you'll see it has the header name, colon, space, the header value. So in the case of the first header here, the header name is content type, then it goes colon, space, and the header value, which in this case is text/plain. So the header name, content type, colon, space, the value, text/plain. And then there's a second header too. So there's a new line. And then the header name for the second header is content length. And the header value for the second header is 44.
Mm-hmm.
So compared to what you've got here, you got the request method and the path right. But after that, you didn't put the HTTP version. And then you put everything else on that single line.
That was my second. I did that differently than the first time because I still was having issues.
Let's walk through this together then. So can you in your terminal do the nc module 5.ml 5000 thing? ML, not NL.
Yep.
Okay. So type out your method and your path. You got that part.
Okay, and I don't have that in front of me now, so it's post.
Post / text - processing / frequencies.
No space.
Oh no, space. So post space / text - processing.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, so.
I'm looking above in the example you typed where you did / text - processing / frequencies.
Oh, there it is.
And then type a space and take a look back over at the slide and see what goes after the path. So you see how it goes method, path, and then the HTTP version, HTTP/1.1. So that's what you've got to put next.
then slash
slash
1.1.
1.1, and then enter. Oh, what happened there?
Well, I hit enter and it didn't respond. Then I hit enter again.
Scroll up a little bit here. Okay, I've got to. Let's try this one more time here.
Should I quit out and start over in the new terminal?
Yeah, hit Control C and do the NC module 5.ml 5000 one more time.
This some stuff is in the way here. Go away. All right. C module 5.ml space 5000 enter. All right. Post space. And I need to look at the there he is. All right. Okay, and it's probably going to time me out now.
Nope, you should be good.
All right, so post. Okay, space slash text and hit return. No. Is it space slash HTTP or just slash?
Space HTTP slash 1.1.
So there's no slash before the HTTP.
No slash before the HTTP.
HTTP slash 1.1.
And then hit enter once.
Are we sure?
Yep, do it. Okay, there we go. Now, the headers, type content dash length, uppercase C in content, uppercase L in length. Then colon space 44.
Oh,
Yep.
So you don't do separate header name and value. Those go together.
It's like an object in JavaScript. There's a key and a value, if that's a good analogy.
Okay. And then for the body, do I type body or do I just type it?
So remember, between the headers and the body, you need 2 new lines. So type one more enter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now you can type your body. So you don't want to type the body colon in front of it. Just type the quick black brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. And
yeah.
Also, for anyone who's like paying real attention, I know that's not the actual phrase, but I needed something with 2 thes in it.
That's good. And hit return.
Hit return.
Oh my God. Yes. Just had to get all the little parts. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And
So the takeaway is,
huh?
The takeaway is the formatting here is very important. You need to concentrate, and this is why it's not really done this way outside of just educational figuring this stuff out. Tomorrow we're going to talk about a much more efficient way to make these requests.
Yeah. No, it's formatting. You have to understand it and how to do it in this case. And I was getting lost in little parts and pieces I didn't get. So, all right.
And so the reason why we're going into this much depth, and anyone who's watching, who's been a web developer for years is probably thinking, why are you talking about this? No one actually makes requests like this, and they're right. But it's important to know how HTTP as a protocol is structured, and that comes up over and over and over. This is a bit of a tedious way to figure it out, but I found this to be a very good way to start to understand the parts and pieces.
Yeah.
So
The back end of things. And you may never have to do anything with it again, but it helps you understand other things, or if something comes up, you'll be like, oh, I remember that.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Yeah. So I'd like to see if everyone in chat could post the exercise they're currently on, or if they've completed all of them. I just want to get an idea of sort of what the progress of how people have gone.
Okay, so while we're doing that, I wanted to take a second and mention that Max said there's actually an assignment. It's a capstone check-in, and I'll paste the link in the chat. It's just to turn in a copy of any code you have for your capstone, along with any mock-ups or wireframes. So you don't have to do any additional work. It's just to post the work you currently have. And I'll put that in Slack and also in the chat. Just a heads up.
So right after class, I'm going to post this to Google Classroom. I should have done it before, I apologize. But if everyone who finished it could take a screenshot of what they have, or if they haven't, just take a screenshot of what they've kept around so you can submit it into Google Classroom, that'd be helpful.
If we're between questions, I would like to share my screen for a minute. I have a tip for getting a character count that might be helpful if people want to try the second exercise with their own phrase.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Carolyn, can you stop sharing? Ah, thanks. Okay, so I'm in Pages, which is like the word processing thing that comes with Mac. And I just have a phrase in here. And if I go to View and then drop down to Show Word Count, and then this appears at the bottom. And if you click the little arrows, you can choose different options, including the number of characters with the spaces included, which is the one that you want for number 2. So again, that's under View. And Show Word Count, it says the first time, but then it goes to character count by choosing the options here.
That's a good tip. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Latonia, you had asked what job titles use this regularly. Basically, anyone who's a web developer has to make HTTP requests. It's just kind of part of sort of the table stakes skills you have to have. As far as actually making requests manually like this, no one really does that. But making requests happens all the time. And the next couple days, we're going to be talking about different ways, more automated, higher level ways to make these requests.
It's actually a different question from Latonia in the chat that I wanted to get to as well. She asked, how long does it take to build your own server?
That's a very loaded question. That's like asking how long does it take to make a website? The answer could be 2 seconds if I'm just making like a website that says like hello world on it and a p tag, or it could be years and years and years if it's like a company that's developing a piece of web software to service customers. And of course, years and years and years, that's over the course of like new feedback or customer requests coming in and stuff like that. But maybe to put a better number on that, to make the server you're interacting with right now, it is about, one moment. I have the source code up here because I've been referencing it as we've been going to make sure we're doing things that make sense. It is 521 lines long, and it probably took me about 5 hours to write, maybe a little bit less. But also keep in mind, like I've been doing this stuff for a decent amount of time, and it's really no big deal for me to kind of just get this stuff out quick. So if you're curious to look at the source code, it's going to give away some spoilers for some future lessons. I can post it in Slack. It's actually in the Careers in Code repository. Yeah, Max, how long to make a server? It's a trap.
Oh, I can also give an update on my homework, which was to find some streaming music we can listen to that won't get a bunch of copyright strikes against the YouTube channel. So the current answer is that I found a bunch of individual songs that we could play, but I have yet to find like just a continuous stream, which I think would kind of ultimately be the goal. So it's still a work in progress on that end.
Kelly, I think you need to write an application to make all those music files to play them.
All right, that's my $1 million idea. Nobody take that. Write an application, just play a bunch of copyright music. Yeah, I'll work on that. That's cool.
Excuse me, Ryan, it's Latonia. What kind of
Yeah.
spoilers did you say were in there? Answers to future tests or just insight into how we're doing stuff? Because I may want to poke around in there to get a head start.
No, I mean, you're welcome to take a look at it. It's not going to give really anything big away. It's more just, this is, there are endpoints and then we're going to hit in future exercises. And this server I've written for the whole module. So we've probably touched maybe like 15% of its surface area, maybe like 20%. And we're going to keep on kind of exercising it as we go. If you are interested in seeing like how one would write a TCP only server, like a server that we interacted with yesterday, I have a nice example in there on how to do it. That's a bit more unconventional, but maybe kind of interesting if you're curious, like how you'd communicate with a client over like just like a raw TCP socket. Or additionally, you can I used Express to write the server that in that file, and you can take a look to see like roughly what that would look like, and you can see I like define different things. Like I said, anytime you make a GET request to this path, it'll run this function and do this code. I don't want to give too much of a spoiler to the server module, but feel free to poke around if you're curious. So Tony asked, would that be a solid, nice portfolio piece as a side project? What do you mean by that? Like writing a server just to learn more, or?
Yeah, to learn more, but not one that's very advanced, just something that'll, get more practice in.
Yeah. In fact, if you Google Express node.js, the first thing that comes up, Express, has a hello world example that's actually pretty easy. Let me post that in the channel. So on that page just posted in the channel, the first little bit of code there, that hello world example, makes a server where when you make a GET request to /, it gives you back the string hello world. So. And wow. Run kit's really far. Interesting. Yeah, I agree with Max. It's probably, I would say don't go crazy on servers. There's a whole module on that. We're going to talk about it. Just I'm saying, like, if you're curious or just kind of like wondering what it looks like, but don't feel like you need to dive into that right now. There's going to be a whole module on it. You're going to go into it in depth soon.
Max is a riot. I just saw the post. He's pushing a course. I think I'll wait on that for a while.
Well, I think for the most part, it sounds like most of you folks have finished up the exercises. Shaw, I still owe you a what we can do for you. Let me talk to you after class on Slack. I've got a suggestion for something you can try. I'm not 100% sure it's going to work, and if it's not going to work, we can talk about maybe an alternative way you can do this too. So anyway, though, I think that's about all I really had for today's class. Feel free, like Kyle suggested, if you want to try your own phrase in that one endpoint and see what happens. That's maybe something to do if you're looking for one more thing to try. But other than that, that's about all we've got for just raw HTTP. And tomorrow we're going to go into how do you make these requests in a much more sane fashion with tools and libraries that are meant for this. So yeah, that's about it. One more reminder, I'm going to post this on this assignment on Google Classroom. Please after class, maybe give me like 5 minutes to get it up there, but please put a screenshot or some text in there just showing you did the assignment. And also I'm going to put the 30-second check-in in Slack too, right after class, and please fill that out if you can. So I think that's it though.
Max already posted it in Slack.
Oh, Max,
Yeah,
gosh,
he's ahead of
Max.
He's had extra coffee, I think.
Okay.
He's a riot.
Well, Max is doing my job for me. Okay, cool. Well, good to see you folks, and we'll chat further tomorrow.
All right, see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye, everybody.